Many communities, particularly out west, they're turning to water recycling as a strategy for addressing water scarcity issues.
Welcome to GAO's Watchdog Report, your source for fact-based, nonpartisan news and information from the U.S. Government Accountability Office. I'm your host, Holly Hobbs. In some parts of the United States, growing populations and prolonged droughts are straining water supplies. Large-scale water recycling could offer these communities a solution to their shortages. In a new report, we looked at the status of these efforts and their challenges. We'll learn more from GAO's Cardell Johnson. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for inviting me.
Cardell, maybe we can start from the top, and you can tell us a little bit about what is water recycling? How does it work?
So simply put, water recycling is just taking water that we've already used, putting it through advanced treatment, and making it safe for us to use again. So if I might visualize this for our audience, imagine that we have 2 glasses of water in front of us. And in one glass of water, we're going to put a couple of drops of black dye. That black dye represents wastewater or dirty water. Now, with water recycling advanced treatment, that water is going to be cleaned until it becomes safe and clear as the water that we drink every day.
And why recycle water? Why does it matter?
Well, it matters a lot because many communities in the country, particularly out west, are facing water scarcity. Water supplies are becoming very limited. With population growth, with drought, there is less water that is available in our natural sources, like from the Colorado River. And so water recycling is a strategy that many communities are turning to really fight their water scarcity issue.
Are there myths to water recycling?
Yes, there are myths to water recycling. I think the one myth that folks have is that when they are drinking water that has been recycled, that is coming straight from the toilet. That is not the case. That water is put through advanced treatment, filtration, where it removes any sort of harmful chemicals, and it is safe as the bottled water that you might buy from your local grocery store.
So why do this? Why recycle water?
The benefits is basically that it creates a new supply of water. I like to think of it this way. We're creating an extra reservoir that never runs dry. And that is really important for the communities that are facing water scarcity. Also, I think a benefit here is that in many communities, particularly those out west, they're depending on sources like the Colorado River for water. Well, if you live 400 miles away and you're getting your water through the Colorado River, you have to import that, and that it comes at a cost. So if you can set up a water recycling center in your community, you may have lower utility rates because you don't have to import that water from 100 miles away. So it also saves taxpayers money.
Are there any benefits to the community more broadly than just, a water supply or lower utilities? Is there any economic impact?
Absolutely. So a lot of people, when they think of water recycling, the first thought that comes to their mind is water for drinking, and that's true. But also, there are economic benefits to water recycling. So think about housing construction or other business construction or farms. They need guaranteed fresh water supplies to be able to operate. So if you don't have guaranteed fresh water supplies, that stalls those projects, which potentially means that maybe communities are not getting the housing that they need in time, or business are not able to start their business when they'd like to, or it might impact growth on a farm.
Do we have examples of where this is being done?
In the United States, the most successful is out in Orange County, California. They've been doing large-scale water recycling since 2008. Orange County water recycling system produces 130 million gallons of purified water a day to about 2.5 million people. And one of the important aspects of that is that they're relying less on sources like the Colorado River, where they're hundreds of miles away and they used to import that water, which means water utility rates were higher for folks there in Orange County.
For our report, we specifically looked at the Department of the Interior's Water Recycling Grants Program. What can you tell us about that?
So the Department of Interior has been doing water recycling since 1992. In the early days, it was focused more so on smaller scale projects, so projects that cost $50 million or less. There was a need for projects to service larger communities. And so through the Infrastructure Investment Jobs Act, Congress appropriated $450 million to Interior to stand up a new grant program that's focused on large scale water recycling.
It sounds like a good program with a lot of good benefits. Are there challenges that Interior's faced in maybe doing this more widespread or just doing it at all?
So in our report, we identified 7 challenges. And one of the challenges that was really important because it led to a delayed start in administering the grants or getting the grant money out there is that the infrastructure bill did not provide money for feasibility studies. So simply put, anytime that you're going to undergo a construction project, right, you have to go through a feasibility study. The whole point of that is to identify the viability of a project and make sure you identify the risk. And that's important because we don't want to use taxpayer monies for projects that are not going to work. And so the provisions in the infrastructure bill did not allow Interior to use any money for feasibility studies. So many communities did not know that this large-scale water recycling program was coming. And many communities, the 5 grantees who got the money, they were not ready. So they had to either develop feasibility studies or update feasibility studies. And that took nearly up to 3 years to be able to start getting the money out to those communities.
Cardell, is there something we think the Department of the Interior should do to address some of the challenges we highlight?
So one of the things that we were encouraged by is through our review, Interior was already cataloging a number of the different challenges that they had in standing up and administering this grant program. And so what we encouraged them to do through our recommendation is to take the lessons learned and to develop legislative proposals. If they're going to continue administering this program, they will probably want to seek some legislative tweaks to make this a bit more efficient. What we heard from the communities that we went to is that communities really appreciated having this funding. It helped them to be able to meet the demand for water in their communities. But some of that sort of initial setup, like I mentioned earlier with the feasibility studies, also thinking through the federal cost share of that, those are things that really do need to be addressed so that they can more efficiently execute, these grants.
And last question, what's the bottom line of this report?
So the bottom line of this report is that many communities in America, particularly out west, are facing water scarcity and they're looking for new supplies of water. And so they're turning to water recycling as a strategy for addressing water scarcity issues. And the federal government can be a key resource for these communities. But it's really important when the government decides to invest in water recycling programs that it makes sure that it develops requirements that are easy to understand and make the process as quick and efficient to get that money out to the community so that it doesn't take years to reap the benefits of the water recycling.
Cardell, thanks for sharing your time and report with us.
Thank you for having me.
And thank you for listening to the Watchdog Report. To hear more podcasts, subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen. And make sure to leave a rating and review to let others know about the work we're doing. For more from the Congressional Watchdog, the U.S. Government Accountability Office, visit us at gao.gov.